Dogman sat down right next to me. Dear Scary Stories NYC, I was salmon fishing at the edge of Lake Huron this past August. I was doing it for food because I had lost my job due to evil people running this planet. I really needed that fish for survival reasons, but as it would turn out, I would not be the one eating that salmon. That was just one result of the fact that Dogman sat down right next to me. You see, I had finally gotten some good luck to come my way, and I'd found a perfect little spot to fish in on the lake on that bright and sunny morning. I had been doing well since before the sun was up in the sky, and I was gathering quite a collection of salmon to be cleaning once I headed back at lunchtime. An entire cooler, a third full up with fish already, and I still had hope for another good hour of fishing to go. With each new salmon caught, my mood grew brighter, and I began to remember what it felt like to be hopeful for the future. So I heard and felt the approach of the giant creature long before I turned around and looked at him. I swear, I thought it was an extremely heavy-set fellow coming up behind me, the way I heard that wood from the pier I was sitting on the end of groaning. I knew it was struggling to keep its boards from snapping in two under the weight of this taller-than-tall, man-like thing. I was wondering why this guy was coming up behind me and how he was going to bother me, but I wasn't feeling threatened until the second I turned my head to acknowledge the presence of my intruder, and I found myself staring into the glowing, supernatural-looking eyes of the Dogman. I nearly jumped into the water and swam away, and with the way things turned out, that might have been as smart a decision as any other choice I could have made in that moment. I have to explain something that I'd better be careful about. Some people are sensitive about their appearance, and so you can't just be throwing words like ugly around carelessly. It can really hurt someone's feelings if they get called a word like that. And the worst part of that is that we all always change how we look as we grow up and grow old. We can only have so much influence on how we look, and the rest is decided by fate and by time. I've been called ugly, and I've used the word on others, and it never led to anything good or beneficial. I try never to resort to such language, and if I had children, I would not allow them to call other people ugly. That all having been said, the Dogman? He is an ugly SOB. He doesn't have anything pretty or nice about him. He's just born to be bad, and I don't mean that in the cool sense. Dogman was put on Earth to be gross. Dogman was given his chance to live in order to be disliked by anyone or anything with the slightest decency inside of them. The Dogman isn't just an ugly old cuss. He's ugly from the inside on out. Even if you gave him a bath and stuck his fur in rollers, you could never do anything to help him be less ugly or less nasty. So imagine you or me, and you're minding your own business fishing, and then along comes this ugly as sin, fur-covered man-thing, standing maybe 8 or 9 feet tall, and smelling like the inside of a dead rabbit that's been sitting in the sun all day. He walks out to the end of the pier where I'm sitting, and you can see the wood bending under him. I wonder what he's gonna do, but I don't move a muscle. I sit there holding my fishing rod, so shocked that I have to remind myself even to breathe, okay? I was wondering what he was gonna do, and I guess he was wondering the same thing because we both were just there for a while, neither of us doing anything. There were flies buzzing around his behind, which was less than a foot above my head. As a consequence, sometimes I had his butt bugs buzzing around my face. I kept trying to swat them away without making any sudden movements that might agitate the Dogman. I began wondering if the uncomfortable silence was going to end with the creature taking a bite out of the top of my head. And I have to admit, That was the longest 10 or 20 seconds of my life. Then bam, the Dogman sort of let his feet slip out from under him, and I went bouncing way up in the air. His giant Dogman butt slammed down onto the wooden boards that I was sitting on, basically turning the pier into a teeter-totter. I reached around to stop my cooler full of fish from bouncing off the pier, and then I returned to my original seated position, terrified that I now had a huge, hairy, smelly monster hanging out while I fished for my lunch and dinner. I unexpectedly got a bite on my line, and I actually wondered what I should do. Sense memory took over, and I started to do what I'm good at, which is reeling in even the toughest to catch fish. The Dogman seemed interested, but not too interested, so I just went ahead and brought that fish on in. With it dangling on the end of my line in front of the two of us, I wondered what would happen next. Would the Dogman allow me to put the fish in my cooler? What would happen after he saw all those other fish in the cooler? How long had the Dogman been observing me anyway? Maybe he already knew that my cooler was half full of salmon. I was in a situation where my opponent not only had a distinct physical advantage over me, but he literally had more information than I did as well. If I was wondering what to do, the Dogman solved the problem for me. He stared at the dangling fish and rubbed his flea-infested head on my shoulder. I felt like I wanted to be sick, but the creature was only getting started. Next, he affectionately licked me from my neck to my chin and up over my right ear, getting rancid-smelling dog slobber all over me. It was the single most nauseating thing I've ever had happen, but it could have been oh so much worse if the creature had decided to use its teeth or its claws to take that fish from me. Not knowing what else to do, I swung the salmon over where the Dogman could grab it, which he did in a surprisingly fierce manner, acting as though he were starving. The fish was being torn to shreds by his teeth before it was separated from my line. I got up and ran, and I'll tell you exactly why I did, too. I was afraid of what was going to happen if and when that Dogman bit into my lure. That was going to release an entire world of hurt on that big boy, and I didn't want to be anywhere around while he tried to get that little sharp metal fishing lure out of his gums. I ran down the pier while that Dogman had that salmon down at the end. I hid behind a tree, watching to see if he would leave my cooler of fish alone. But such was not to be. The monster smacked the top off that cooler and stuck its massive dinosaur-sized dog head down inside. He ate those fish alive like sushi, and he made a big mess of it, too. I could tell there wasn't going to be anything edible in the cooler by the time that big monster was done with it, so I took a walk to the supermarket to get me some spaghetti to have for my lunch and dinner. I went back for my cooler later after the Dogman was gone, and I washed it out in the lake. He hadn't really damaged it, but it was nasty. I suppose that if the creature had actually damaged the cooler with his teeth, that would have made the thing more valuable. I don't know if there are any officially recognized Dogman teeth markings. The information that could be derived from such a thing might prove truly valuable in helping to identify what this animal actually is. Unfortunately, the only evidence that Dogman left behind of his visit was my empty, growling belly. And that's all I've got left from the time that Dogman sat down right next to me. Hold the phone, it's Sarah Jones. Please join me in thanking this episode's executive producer, Sarah Jones, for making this video possible. In exchange for helping to keep us on the air, Sarah gains access to our weekly secret uncensored Dogman stories, allegedly true accounts, all far too wild to ever tell on this channel. To fill in any deets I may have left out, here's international TV spokesmongrel Henry Lee Dogman. Hank? Thanks for watching till the end. If you liked what you saw, please consider clicking like on the video or sharing it with your friends and family that you think might also be interested. If you would like to see more of our work, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon next to the subscribe button so that YouTube will alert you when we put out a new video. To become a channel member and gain access to our special perks, you can click that join link under each of our videos. Another option is to join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. You can join for as little as 99 cents on YouTube or $1.50 at peterbernard.com, and that gains you access to our weekly secret uncensored episodes. If you'd like to see our 21 hours of archives of uncensored Dogman stories, then please join at the $3 level or above. To get to watch our shows in advance of the public, please join at our $10 level. That gets you all the perks. If you join our channel memberships, you need to check our community page here on YouTube in order to get the links to the secret videos and other perks. If you're in the PayPal subscribers club, Peter will email you all the news and links himself. Once joining the PayPal club, which is Peter's homemade club, please give him a chance to see that you've joined and to compose you a personal welcome email, as none of that is automated. But whichever you join, we'll name you an executive producer for the next available episode. Do you have a scary experience that you'd like to share with us? You can email us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or call our Scary Stories voicemail hotline at 804-LA-SCARY. That's 804-537-2279. It's a Google voicemail box, so that means it keeps cutting off after every 3 minutes. If your story is longer than that, please keep calling back and we can piece it together on our end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.